President Bola Tinubu has made his second state broadcast since becoming president in May. It comes after his controversial decision to end fuel subsidy, which led to soaring food and petrol prices. In his nationwide address, Tinubu again justified the removal of the subsidy, saying Nigeria has saved 1 trillion naira in the 2 months since its removal. He acknowledged the rise in the cost of living and announced a few programs and palliatives that would help Nigerians across socio-economic brackets. In the same vein, the president has also approved measures to support tertiary students in the country, some of which include provision of buses to ease transportation costs, as well as lifting of all restrictions on student loans, making it available to every student or household in need of it.
Yes, I have consistently maintained the position that the fuel subsidy had to go. This once beneficial measure had outlived its usefulness. The subsidy cost us trillions of naira yearly, such as a vast sum of money would have been better spent on public transportation, health care, school, housing, and even national security. To strengthen the manufacturing sector, increase its capacity to expand and create good-paying jobs, we are going to spend 75 billion between July 2023 and March 2024. Our administration recognizes the importance of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises and the informal sector as the drivers of growth. We are going to energize this important sector with 125 billion. Out of the sum, we will spend 50 billion conditional grant to 1 million nano businesses between now and March 24. Our target is to give a minimum of 50,000 each to 1,300 nano businesses owners in each of the 774 local governments across the country. Ultimately, this program will further drive financial inclusion by onboarding beneficiaries into the formal banking system. In like manner, we will fund 100,000 MSMEs and startups with 75 billion. I have ordered release of 200,000 metric tons of grains from strategic reserves to households across the 36 states and FCT to moderate prices. We are also providing 225,000 metric tons of fertilizer, seeding, and other inputs to farmers who are committed to our food security agenda. Our plan to support cultivation of 500,000 hectares of farmland and all year-round farming practice remain on course. To be specific, 200 billion out of the 500 billion approved by the National Assembly will be disbursed as follows. Our administration will invest 50 billion each to cultivate 150,000 hectares of rice and maize. 50 billion each will also be earmarked to cultivate 100,000 hectares of wheat and cassava. Part of our program is to roll out buses across state and local government for mass transit at a much more affordable rate. We have made provision to invest 100 billion between now and March 2024 to acquire minimum of 3,000 units of 20-seater CNG fuel buses. In the same vein, we are also working in a collaboration with the labor unions to introduce a new national minimum wage for workers. I want to tell you, our workers, that your salary review is coming.
Let's now turn to a development economist, Gbolahan Olojede, for a robust analysis of the president's actions to alleviate Nigerian situation in the wake of the economic crunch bedeviling them. Welcome to Arise News. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, you know, there was a particular quote I want to take from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when he addressed the nation yesterday at 7 p.m. He said, "Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were, I would have taken that route as I came here for help, not to hurt the people and the nation I love. What I can offer, however, is in the immediate is to reduce the burden of our current economic situation and what it has imposed on all of us."
Correct.
So I want to put this across to you. Are you satisfied with the plans rolled out by the president to help ease the burden of fuel subsidy removal?
I will say if we can implement that, it will indeed moderate the burden on the people. The plan in itself is a bit, I will say strategic, because it tried to attack the problems from where the impact will be most felt. So, for example, if you look at the impact on inflation, that speech spoke to food issues. And now food is a primary driver of the composite inflation figure that we have, which means even when inflation is 22.79, you look at food, it will be like 25. So the implication of that is that if you can do something about food, you will moderate the composite inflation figure. So when he said we will release grains, when you release grains, you are improving the supply of grains in the market. So the price that was rising will succumb to the improved supply of grains in the market. When grains come into the market, it goes beyond the direct consumption of grains. It also goes into other things that grains are used for. So chicken, for example, animal feed generally. So if you populate the market with a lot more grains, you will get animal feed down. So chicken will not start to rise and rise and rise. Then you will get more food into the space for people to consume. And by that so doing, you will moderate price of food. If you moderate the price of food, then you will moderate inflationary pressure to a certain extent.
Well, you've talked about what was included in the speech. Yeah. But one thing that's also been highlighted was what wasn't mentioned in terms of refineries. And we know that the expectations regarding the Dangote refinery, seeing that the federal government also has a stake there. So why didn't we hear anything about this?
We didn't. But we must continue to ask. And here is it. I'm aware that the contract for the revamp of those refineries were, issued by the previous administration. As a matter of fact, when you take the Port Harcourt refinery, which was meant to be a 3-phase revamp, the phase 3 was supposed to have been completed in June. This is August 1st. Somebody should tell us exactly where we are on Port Harcourt refineries. Maybe it is not yet ready. There's nothing wrong about it, but be able to tell us that, it is not ready for these and these reasons. This is when it will be ready. It's an important information to put out there. Warri Refinery was also contracted. The contractor moved to site. What is the status now? It's good to know. Kaduna Refinery, the contractor could not move to site because of security challenges. Has he now moved to site? What is going on at Kaduna? Then let's look at the private sector initiative as well, the Dangote refineries. What exactly is the status? We were told by July, today is August 1 now. So it would be nice to hear from Mr. Dangote or the government, because government is a co-owner of that refinery as we speak. So it would be nice to also hear. There's nothing wrong if, for whatever reason, the July didn't happen. What is important is, why did July not happen? And when can we reasonably look forward to this for coming on stream? The reason is, when you look at the last price increase that we had, after the 488, 490, then there was this movement to 670. From all indications, that last movement was just a product of the collapse of the foreign exchange, multiple foreign exchange rate. So what that did was to take the official dollar from 462 to the INE window at about 750 or thereabout. When you have that kind of a movement in a product that you don't produce, that you have to bring in from another country, automatically the price will go up. It will go up. So it means that if we can get to that junction where we start to produce, it will help to moderate the level of fluctuation that foreign exchange plugs into that mix. At least you remove that part of the uncertainty. That's why the refinery part is an important, and we must continue to ask for the president to speak to that as well.
We've spoken about food, how important it is to get food across to people, and of course now refineries. But then the president also said something that was very important. He said that they've been able to save ₦1 trillion in the 2 months that he's been in office. Now, if we're looking at that amount, and then we're also looking at the 500 billion that was supposedly approved from the supplementary budget that was supposed to help with these palliatives, and then also the money from the World Bank as well. We're looking at all of these bodies of money. How would you want this the subsidy savings? What is actually making Nigerians go through this grunt in itself is the removal of fuel subsidy. So if we're getting these savings, how would you recommend the savings be channeled back into the economy to make sure that if we're actually trying to remove something like this, what Nigerians are going through will not be in vain?
I think a bit of that is already happening. So when you look at the last distribution of the FAC, you see that things have gone up from about 600 billion that are usually distributed on the average to about 900. So the states are receiving. So as the states are receiving more, the expectation is also that the state will be able to have some sort of their own palliatives. This palliative we're speaking about is not actually meant to just be a federal government affair. It should be multi-level. So the federal government, the state government, the local government, even corporates, and individual lifestyle adjustments are all part of what needs to happen. In my organization, for example, we have decided to do a 25% across board. We also know of
25% increase across salaries.
I'm just glad everybody's listening.
Okay. Yes. Yes, to say, look, we are going to sit down and review what has actually happened. But we know that the pain is already there. The pain is not waiting for our review. So in the interim, take this 25. Step things up. We've read of organizations that have doubled salary at certain categories of workers. Okay, just take it twice. So those are corporate level palliative. We've heard about a state like Ogun. Ogun said, look, I will convert 2,000 vehicles at a cost to the government to CNG operated vehicles. And I will provide CNG infrastructure across the bus stops in Ogun State. If that state carries through with what it has promised, it will do a lot as a palliative to the people. Lagos State is also rolled out some things as well, which I believe will, So when we have this multi-level approach to the palliative, it will actually begin to touch us. There's a very important part of that, a very tiny but important part of what the president said yesterday. He spoke about rural roads.
Infrastructure fund.
Yes. When you look at the agricultural production in Nigeria, a lot of it is wasted. And that is because the connection between the centers of production and the centers of consumption is very bad.
And even lack of preservation.
We don't have power, we don't have, so storage-related issue, the roads, the access, yes, to those places, if we improve it, it will ensure that the farmer losses is reduced. Some people lose as much as 40%, 50% of the entire production. We see in Nigeria as tomato will be a heap in a particular season. All of a sudden, some months down the lane, it will only be 3 pieces. And if you dare to price it, the market woman will almost curse you for trying to price that thing. What is that? Seasonality in production. Is this agric part of what the government is trying to do also involve being able to address the issues of seasonality? Why should we produce a particular product only in a particular season? And when it is out of season, the price doubles or triples sometimes.
Well, out of season and we're also out of time for now, but I'd like to say a big thank you. Development economist, Mr. Gbolahan Olojede, thank you for joining us here on Newsday. And thank you for also doing your part to ease the burden in your place of work. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.